My name's Temple Grandin. I'm Associate Professor of Animal Science at Colorado State University, and I'm also a person with autism.
Yes, now we have a couple of things. There are many things that have happened in your life to get you to be so high functioning, and we need to understand these to help the kids that are out there right now.
Well, the first thing was state-of-the-art early intervention. My mother had me into a great speech therapy school by the time I was 2.5. They didn't call it ABA back in those days, but it was ABA type of things. Also played lots of turn-taking games. See, back in the 50s, when you did things with other children, you always had to take turns playing a game. You go over to a friend's house, in order to play the game, you had to do it with another child. And that also really helped, because that taught me turn-taking. Also, my parents taught me manners. And I think the lack of teaching manners today hurts the real high-functioning Asperger people more than the normal people. The normal people can kind of muddle through it. But I was taught table manners. I was taught to say please and thank you. I was taught, for example, when I went down to the breakfast buffet there, they had a bowl of raspberries. I was taught it is a pig to eat the whole bowl of raspberries. You have to leave some there for other people. You know, we had Miss Manners Sunday dinners at my grandmother's house, and I was expected to behave. Usually I did. Now, my mother did recognize the sensory issues, that if I had a big meltdown at the circus, there was just sensory overload. I couldn't deal with noisemakers at birthday parties. So at my birthday parties, there were no noisemakers. You know, she recognized the sensory. But there also were some expectations for behavior. Now, obviously, you can't take a nonverbal person and totally expect them to do all of these things. I'm talking about the much more normal Asperger's, the more computer programmer kind of guys. In fact, MIT now has come out with a social skills training program for the engineers, because of course a lot of those students are a little bit on the Asperger spectrum. The Wall Street Journal now has articles on how to behave at work. They never had that 10 years ago.
Wow. Now, with sensory issues, this is a very big deal. You brought this up. You brought it up once. Now, what in the world can we do to combat help these kids come to grips with dealing with their sensory issues?
Well, first of all, you need to figure out where the sensory problems are. And there's some people out there that just cannot imagine what it would be like for their sensory system to be different. I had a very famous doctor one time in the autism field say to me, I don't understand this sound sensitivity stuff. And I said to him, imagine if somebody stuck a dentist drill down your ear and it felt like hitting a nerve when the fire alarm goes off. It hurts. I said, now do you understand that? I mean, I had that problem when the school bell went off. You know, some of these kids, once they find out a smoke alarm goes off and it hurts their ears, they see a smoke alarm, they're not going to want to go into that room. Now, sensory problems are very variable. One child may have sound sensitivity. Another child may have visual sensitivity problems. And he's not going to be able to tolerate fluorescent lights because they flicker. There's other children that are more severe, where both hearing and vision is actually scrambled. And these problems are not in the ear, they're not in the eyeball, they're inside the brain. And if a child does a lot of stims around the eyes like this, a lot of looking out the corner of the eye, suspect visual processing problems. You probably need to be going to a developmental optometrist. That's a special eye doctor that works with exercises to help correct things that are inside the brain.
Now, how about sensory tactile issues?
I had problems with tactile. I could not stand scratchy things against my skin. I still cannot tolerate scratchy things against my skin. And this is one of the places where we need to make some accommodations. What some parents do is they buy the child's clothes at the thrift store because they're really well washed. Since they're used, they're really well washed. I have to wash, I can't wear any new clothes against my skin. I break out and they itch and they drive me crazy. All my jeans have to be washed, even the stone-washed ones. I got to wash them before I wear them to get some of the chemicals and things out of them. And I couldn't tolerate being hugged. I wanted to feel that good feeling of being hugged, but it was like a tidal wave of stimulation coming over me. It was just too much. Now, if you work with little autistic kids, so be gently insistent on getting them to accept pressure, they're going to find that deep pressure is calming. Do things like roll up in gym mats, a weighted vest. Maybe put the child in between two great big pillows. And this can calm the nervous system down. And then the child's going to get the like being hugged. Remember, little tickle touches scare and excite. Firm pressure's calming. Tickle touches, set them off. So you just want to do firm pressure. Also, try doing some activities with either pressure or swinging at the same time that you're doing either speech therapy or maybe ABA or some other, teaching method. Because if you do the pressure or the swinging, it calms the nervous system down. And in some of these severe children, where information is just not getting through, it helps to stabilize their brain, and more sound will get through their ears. Because the problem is, you can go in and do the pure tone hearing test, a little simple hearing test. They're going to pass that. Hearing threshold and auditory detail are two different things. When grown-ups yacked off really fast, I thought grown-ups had a foreign language just for grown-ups, special grown-up talk. Because all I was hearing was the vowels. A lot of these kids that remain nonverbal, all they hear is vowels. If I said, the dog walked down the street, they'd be hearing, the og walked down the eat. That's all they'd be hearing. And my speech teacher would enunciate the hard consonant sounds. She'd hold up a cup, like she'd hold this up, and of course this isn't a cup right here, but she'd say, cup, pa. She'd stretch out those consonants. And then she'd also say it the regular way too. So I'd learn it. She'd say cup, and then she'd go cup, pa, and then I'd say it, and then she'd praise me. And she did some kind of ABA type of things with me. Because you've got to help the brain hear the auditory detail. And if you do sometimes swinging, very slow swinging, or maybe get the child under two big pillows that we call beanbag chairs, that can kind of stabilize the brain enough so that some of those consonants will get through. The way some of these kids' hearing is, it's like a bad mobile phone. You got a really weak signal on the mobile phone. And if you stay completely still and you don't move and hold it in just the right position, you can hear the other person. You move and they break up. That's the way these kids' brains are. And if you do something like swinging or pressure while you're doing ABA or speech therapy, it's like holding the mobile phone in the right position, and you'll get the signal through. Because they're like a TV that's got a really bad picture. Some of them vision's scrambled. Some of them visual images break up. If they look at something where there's high contrast of like maybe black and white, it's all jiggling and vibrating. And some of these people can be helped with the Erlen colored glasses. I had a student who was dyslexic, and the Erlen colored glasses, just saved her on her college work, because now she could read, the print no longer jiggled. But you've got to pick the lenses that are exactly the right color. Suspect a visual processing problem, even on a non-autistic adult. If they're afraid of escalators, and they don't like to drive at night, but for kids, if they're afraid of escalators, that's almost guaranteed to be a tip-off you have a visual processing problem, because they can't tell how to get on and off. And another thing that can be really helpful is to use a flat panel computer display, like a laptop screen, because those do not flicker. TV-type computers flicker, and then some of the big fat flat panels that are about this wide, they flicker because there's fluorescent lights hidden inside those things. You've got to go to the computer screen. It's like that thin. No way a fluorescent light can be inside that thing, and they do not flicker. And even around people that are supposedly normal, there's these visual processing problems. Because in my design class, I teach a livestock handling equipment design class, Colorado State, and the students have to draw out cattle handling facilities. And this involves using a compass, where you make intersecting circles. And there's certain students that cannot figure out where the center of the circle is. And instead of making nice circles with the compass, they're making lines just all over the place because they're just seeing it as waves. I have 2 of those every semester out of 50 or 60 students. And then I refer them in for Erlen lenses. I also take them down to our computer room and have them look at the different computer screens. And they hate the TVs and they like the laptop, and I tell them to go out and buy a laptop. And sometimes interventions this simple can make a big difference. But if you want to try the colored glasses, you've got to pick out the specific color that works best for you. Now, for low-income people, there's a great selection of glasses at the local sunglass store. I was just at the airport the other day, and I go, wow, look at all these great Erlen lenses here that people can get $15. Now, it's better if you can spend the money to get custom done at Erlen, because then you can get the exact color, and that will work better than something from the sunglass store. But something from the sunglass store is going to work better than nothing. And you want to make sure you use the real pale ones. You cannot be reading with dark glasses. They have to be the pale shades so you don't get eye strain.